About 2024. It was another year of wasting opportunities that flew away without me realizing it. In December of last year, it dawned on me. What happened this year, 2024? I think it's simultaneously a lot and nothing. And yet, nothing has changed. This video is not me looking for sympathy or something like that. It's just me reflecting on what happened last year, trying to find the positives in all of this, and hopefully looking forward to better days. In January, I finally changed my job. I was fed up with my new manager who didn't stand up for me for no apparent reason. I dealt with the situation and everything was fine during the holidays in 2023. 4 hours after applying for a job, I got a call and was invited to an interview. After 3 interviews, I got hired. The place is a 5-star hotel, but those 3 interviews plus a trial shift were too much. I wasn't applying for a managerial role. I was there to be a shift engineer or maintenance. The pay was significantly better, which was very nice to say the least, but it was a stressful place. The team I worked with was great and invaluable, but my god, the others were always on edge. I don't want to get specifics because I don't feel like sharing exactly where I work. Also, I signed NDA and have never looked into specifics of what I can and cannot share. Anyways, it wasn't a difficult job. I've done 95% of the required stuff and the team was always there to help if it was something new. They were the best part of that job. The worst were the night shifts. I worked 2 shifts during the day and 2 at night, all 12 hours. Those night shifts were killing me. After one of my last nights there, I fell asleep on the underground seat going home, so I decided to stand up. I almost fell to the floor. I fell asleep while standing. I'm still amazed I wasn't robbed. I laugh now because it's funny, but this was the day I knew I wouldn't stay there for long. My plan was always to work for a bit after my probation, get a certification in plumbing and get out of London as soon as possible. Technically that came to a certain degree in February, but for the wrong reasons. In the meantime, I was hard on working on the next video, Chorus. Such a fun game. The video was supposed to come out in 2023. Still, due to finishing university, I had to focus on what was necessary at the time, writing assignments, which continued during the summer and finally ended at the beginning of September of the same year. I started writing the script and was probably halfway done when I dropped it. After September, I decided to play it again despite being confident about what I wanted to say about the game. I wanted to refresh my memory because there were some parts, good or bad, because I played it more than half a year ago. Plus, the game was super fun. The first hour is the only thing that takes from the fun on a second playthrough. This is where you control an ordinary ship and not your sentient companion Forsaken. Once I finished my second playthrough, I changed the video scope, making it my longest one yet. I can't recommend it enough. I doubt many people know that the studio, Fish Labs, suffers significant layoffs. They were part of Embracer. The unfortunate reality is this was their chance for mainstream success. Before Chorus, they mainly developed or ported games for mobile devices. But for one reason or another, I never saw any ad campaigns pushing the game. Fish Labs did an outstanding job on their first big project, and it's such a shame that Chorus sold poorly. I'll talk about this in more details in my video about the game. Check it out, but be sure to stockpile with snacks and drinks. Since that video, I've always been interested in checking out the precursor to Chorus, Galaxy of Fire games. Maybe one day. The video went live on February 4th and for a channel my size, the views are good. 138 might not seem much, but I'm happy that anybody watched it. I'm still proud of how the video turned out. I usually take a day or 2 to unwind after making a video, especially nowadays, since they tend to take way longer than before. But I eventually get back on track and start playing the next game on the list. In this case, this was a game I was looking forward to, Restricted Area. It's an action RPG set in a cyberpunk setting. Unfortunately, I had to drop everything. I had to fly home for personal reasons. I stayed there for 4.5 months, constantly going back and forth between cities. Those months were full of uncertainties and did take a toll on me. I was doing nothing, just wasting time, and if you think this sounds good, it's not. Despite the stress of the situation, the first month felt good enough to take a break, but then the days started rolling one after the other. I felt like time was moving faster and slower simultaneously. I even started to get a bit angry and frustrated because nothing was going right. I don't want to get into specifics for some personal reasons, but trust me when I tell you, the whole situation drained me mentally. But here's the thing, would I do anything different if I go back in time? Yes, I will fly home sooner. Even if the whole experience was challenging, I would gladly go through it again without hesitation. However, it wasn't all bad. I managed to do some things I never did. Plus I read some books, caught up on TV shows and movies, and played games. I needed something to unwind. I did some gardening, planted peppers, tomatoes, eggplants, carrots, and potatoes, and did their watering system, drip irrigation. This project was fun to do and very simple, much simpler than I thought. I did everything in a day, but the place was not massive. There were some mistakes in the process, but you live and learn. Until I left, I was taking care of the veggies. It was an incredible experience for me. Once I saw everything started to fall back into place, I booked my flight for the end of June. I immediately started looking for a job, and I thought it would be easy because I had a lot of experience in my field. How wrong I was. I sat for a month and barely got one interview. I started to get worried I'd dry my savings. I already spent a lot not working for a couple of months, but the saving grace was a friend of mine. He was my manager in 2019, but left for a different place. He offered me a job. He is again my manager. He saved me for a second time and is one of the few people I can safely say I owe him. The unfortunate thing was I had to wait a month. I didn't have much of a choice, so that's what I did. Since then there have been no hiccups and I'm quite happy and stress free. As for video games, I finally played some I was eager to play, starting with Dusk. My god, I slept on one of the best boomer shooters. What can I say that hasn't been said before? Satisfying shooting, creative level design, fun bosses, great variety of enemies, although I'm not a fan of the Wendigo for scaring the shit out of me initially. My only complaint is that some projectiles are hard to see and avoid, but don't stop moving and you'll be fine. I really dig the levels. I find them very creative. Every map has something unique. My favorites are the Escher Lab for its mind-bending design and the Erebus Reactor. Such a fun open area with cracks you can fall, enemies shooting you from every angle, and the map is wide and high. And as soon as I step in the arena, Andrew Hulshoot's amazing soundtrack kicks in and pumps you up to blast some cultists' ass. The arsenal is standard, but it's so fine-tuned that you won't mind it. Also sound and feedback. The hunting rifle is the best. It feels like you're shooting a cannon, not a rifle. I don't know what else to say. I can only praise the game, and if you haven't played it, go out and buy it. Dusk is definitely worthy of replaying. Next, I decided to switch gears and play Technobabylon, a cyberpunk point-and-click adventure game made by Technocrat and published by Wadjet Eye Games. If you have ever played a published or made game by Wadjet Eye Games, you know the title is gonna be high quality. Technobabylon revolves around Charlie Regis, an ex-scientist turned cop who's been blackmailed with the lives of his unborn children. But depend on what part of the story you are on, you control another two characters. They are all tangled in a conspiracy in a cyberpunk dystopian future. Unraveling the conspiracy is fun. The puzzles are solid, I'm usually bad at them because I overthink, and don't have moon logic. They fit in the world of the game. The pixel art is fantastic, voice acting is excellent, and some situation can be resolved in more than one way, which leads to some characters treating you differently. This is the only thing I noticed. I played the game more than half a year ago, so some details probably slipped through the cracks. Overall, good game. After that, I played Superhot. The thing I wasn't expecting about it was to be this hard. Let me be clear, it was fun, and every time I had to repeat a level, it was due to my mistakes. However, once I pulled off a level, it was satisfying. One of the last levels took me ages to finish. Honestly, the game felt more like a puzzle than an action title, and that's not bad. It's one of the most innovative games you can play, testing your spatial awareness. I find the final few levels brutal. I still haven't played the DLC, and if I had a VR headset, Superhot VR would be my first purchase. I also played Amityville, and it's fantastic. First, I like the medieval theme the developer was going for. It really stands out among the other boomer shooters. Second, the level design is excellent. I really like how vast and colorful the levels can be. They have tons of secrets, fun encounters, etc. I especially love the ethereal atmosphere the game is going for. It really feels like you're fighting supernatural forces from the depth of another realm. Some levels seem suspended in the air, held by an arcane magic. Such a fantastic vibe. You can retroactively fit all weapons in well-known mold, but they are well defined on their own, and I used all of them throughout my time with the game, and not many games can say the same thing. Different situations require different weapons. My favorite is the Star of Torment. It looks like a mace. Instead of metal on the top, it has crystals, and you can shoot through those crystals. The coolest part is that when an enemy dies killed by the star, it pierces and nails them to a wall, hanging like a wet rag. Kinda reminds me of the stake gun from Painkiller. The music is by Andrew Hulshoot, so you know it's good. At some point, I decided I need to blow off some steam by killing some orcs in Warhammer 40,000 Space Marine. Holy crap, I never knew how metal this game is. I remember people talking about it, but now that I finally played it, I see why people adore it. Also, Space Marine was coming out then, prompting me to check out the first game. It's a very linear game, which is fine. I prefer those, and you can mow down hundreds of orcs. What I like most about it is that makes you switch constantly between melee combat and shooting. You can't count only on one of them. Guns feel great, heads can really pop, and blood splatter everywhere. As good as they are, the melee weapons are the star. You start with a combat knife, an okay weapon, but it's too short and quickly gets replaced by the iconic chainsword. The only way to restore your health is by executing enemies once they are weak enough, and I can't get enough ripping apart orcs with the chainsword. So satisfying. One of the reasons why I like this method of restoring your life is that you can't play defensively constantly. You need to be aggressive when needed and use your melee weapons. The other weapons are Power Axe, which is slightly slower than the chainsword, but it does a bit more damage, and the Thunder Hammer, which is slow but hits like a hammer. It does severe damage, but since it's very heavy, Titus, the main character, has to use two hands to wield it, preventing him from using most ranged weapons. It's my least used one because I find it too slow for my taste. However, combine the Thunder Hammer with a jetpack, which you get in a few levels, and you have a recipe for all paint. You're using it to get to higher ground, but the best thing about it is once you're in the air, you can aim into a group of enemies and Titus will charge, blasting them with the hammer. The developer used the jetpack sparingly, so it feels like a treat and you don't get tired of using it. The only thing I don't like is the final encounter. You just get overwhelmed by enemies and obliterated in seconds. It took me many attempts, but I eventually finished the game. This is a solid game that will appeal to non-40k Warhammer fans like me. One day I'll sink my teeth into the sequel. I also dipped my toes into a few games I barely played to have a full opinion on them. I tried Forsaken Remastered, which seems to be hard as I remember playing it back in the day. The Saboteur, fun but a bit janky by modern standards, open world game set in Paris during World War II. And Ronin, action puzzle game, and the main gimmick is you and the AI doing moves simultaneously and pauses after that, giving you time to plan your next move. Very fun, but ramp up the difficulty quickly or I'm just bad at the game. Lastly, Forgive Me Father is an excellent Lovecraftian shooter with unique art style, solid weapon roster and interesting weapon upgrade system where each point changes the look and how it shoots, leading to a lot of creativity. I'd probably finished it a long time ago, but the game crashed and since then I couldn't load at all. I don't remember the message displayed after the crash, but many people complained about the same thing. This was on my laptop, I still haven't tried it on my desktop. I hope this will be resolved eventually. As someone who is a fan of Max Payne games and has played the fall of Max Payne at least 5-6 times over the years, I decided it's time to finally see if I hate number 3 as much as I think, and I didn't. I enjoy playing it. I'm not a fan of many things, but I don't hate or regret playing it. I think my issue stems from some weird and not so weird design decisions. Let me start with the dialogue. I find it cringe-worthy and edgy, generally not even good. I don't need the writing team to emulate Sound Lake style, but I found it very uninteresting, which dragged down the story. Another thing is the cutscenes. At some point it feels like you are playing a Kojima game with 30 seconds of gameplay followed by a 5-minute cutscene. I think the stadium is the worst offender. On top of that, if you die, you have to watch the cutscene again without the option of skipping it. Even when it was released, this was disliked. Not to mention the requirement to use Rockstar Launcher. I couldn't even play the game initially because of the launcher. It didn't even load. Thankfully, there is a way to circumvent this in the Steam forums. There is a lot to like in Max Payne. For one, the setting is excellent. I know many people dislike it, but I actually love the change. You are still in New York in the flashback scenes, but I prefer the Brazilian levels. The colors and the vibrant setting of the favelas, despite being dilapidated, are way more interesting to me. However, I dislike how linear the levels are. Max Payne is not known for being an open world, but because of how enjoyable the new setting is and the vast environment, the maps feel way more linear than they actually are. The previous two games are confined to a more narrow space, like a building or a section of a city street, but this new one opens up for a bit of exploration. I really like the new changes of the gameplay. Bullet time is more reminiscent of the first game. To gain it back you need to kill enemies, and shoot diving also drains it. I still prefer it the way it works on the second game. There it felt like it was a superpower. It recharges itself and shoot dodge doesn't drain it. How it works here feeds into the other systems and you can't abuse it. Taking cover is another good addition. Although the covers are often destructible, you can protect yourself in a believable way and get your bearings on the situation. You are frequently put against odds that are not in your favor and your chances of survival look slim. Those sections are my favorite, really pump the adrenaline through your veins. There is a set piece in an office building earlier in the game where you are against a dozen heavily armed men dropping from the ceiling. You barely have a decent cover, glass is breaking, papers are flying and the cubicle walls get destroyed. I absolutely adore this. Many people point out the airport level as their highlight, but this section here is mine. I died a few times, so I knew I had to play better on my next try. I found the difficulty quite high even on normal, but I embraced the challenge. Even if the odds are against you, there is a way out, and if you die one too many times, the game is gracious enough to give you painkillers if you don't have any, and you will die. Like the enemies are not immune to headshots, so do you. It takes one bullet to see the end of your journey. The story is good. I like it, although I have been spoiled by what is happening. It was apparent even if I didn't know the outcome, but I mostly enjoyed the journey where everything quickly spirals out of control and goes from bad to worse. As I said earlier, the dialogue, mostly Max's inner monologues, ruins it for me. If I had to rank the 3 games, it will be 2, 1 and 3. I'm glad the game was made and even that it came out at all, despite the development hell it went through. Will I play it again? Never say never, but I doubt it will be anytime soon. Another game I played when I am not working on a video is Prodeus. Such a fantastic boomer shooter. Weapons are great, each with alternate fire mode, making the roster massive. Enemies have good variety and explode satisfyingly, but the star are the maps. So far, they are exceptionally well designed and interconnected with tons of secrets, adrenaline pumping encounters, great bosses, and some abilities to unlock like double jump. It's just all around fun. The only thing I dislike so far is the 3D map of each level. It's so slow and awkward to navigate. I will definitely finish the game. As for the channel, after my return to London, I start making my next video while searching for a job. I resume my work on restricted area, and oh boy, this one was a doozy. It was an interesting premise. You can play with 4 characters and see the story from a different perspective, but the execution is mediocre at best. The gameplay is simplified Diablo in a cyberpunk setting that gets repetitive and boring after 30 minutes. The level design is highly repetitive, the music is meh, the upgrade system is not interesting, there is no variety of weapons, and it's poorly balanced and buggy. It was even buggier at release, but thanks to fans, it was patched over the years. Everything screams no budget. The game was made by 2 people. I also had a game-breaking crash that prevented me from continuing, but I managed to circumvent it. To top it off, because of how awful the difficulty was balanced, I didn't even manage to finish it. However, I had a lot of fun editing the video. It's one of the videos I'm really proud of. Feel free to check it out. The video, not the game, is not worth smashing your head against the wall. I had high hopes for this video to do well, and it did. At the time of writing, it sits at 372 views with 22 likes. I'm happy with everything. It feels like my labor is appreciated and it's worth continuing to do it. Next on the channel, I released Mini Ninjas, a kid-friendly take on ninjas. It's developed by IO Interactive, the developer behind the Murder Sandbox. It's a simple fun game aimed at kids. A great evil has returned and turned all forest animals into soldiers. Your fellow ninja friends disappeared and you need to find them and save the world. The gimmick is that you can freely swap between all your friends to use their abilities. Each plays slightly different and is good in certain situations. That's it. You go level after level, defeat a boss and revert the animals back to themselves by smacking them. If you have a preteen in your house, they might enjoy it. To my surprise, the video did well. People have fond memories of the game and it may have taken them back to their childhood. I got comments, not on YouTube, saying they remember liking it when they were young. I tried 3 games and finished one was a pain to make from start to end. The first 2 games I tried, Neuro and Inhabited Island Prisoner of Power, were dull and buggy with some potential behind them. I didn't enjoy playing any of them, not that I enjoy going to Liquidator 2 Welcome to Hell much. Dull weapons, boring enemies, and somewhat okay level design and a boring gameplay loop. The game lasted around 3 hours, but it felt like 20. Highly do not recommend. I didn't expect this video to do well and I was right. The games are obscure and bad, but I was already committed.
It's the Punisher!
The Punisher from Volition is a game I was eager to revisit for a video. I played it many years ago and I wanted to know if it still holds up. Well, it does to a certain degree. The thing is that what you see in the first hour is what you play in the last hour. It doesn't change much, if at all, but what here is solid. The shooting is satisfying, rage mode is terrific, offering different executions, levels have great visual variety, and some even provide interesting gimmicks. I'm looking at you, Gray's funeral home. The fight with the Russian in Castle's apartment is also another highlight. Overall, it's a good game and honestly, it's wonder how good it is considering the backstory of how it was made. We almost got entirely different Punisher at one point. I did as expected in terms of views. The Punisher is still recognizable IP and the game sold decent enough, but it faded and was forgotten. But in the YouTube era, people are returning to old memories. The next game, Neurohunter, took me ages to finish. First, it took me around 25 hours to reach the end for various reasons, mainly because I wanted to see every corner of the game, and second, I spent too much time rearranging my inventory and selling stuff at the merchants. But what's the game all about, you may ask? It's a first-person sci-fi action game with light RPG mechanics set in a dystopian future where corporations rule everything. You are hired to do something, but the corporation betrays you and blows up a bomb in an attempt to kill you. Somehow you survive and ended up in an underground mine where you must navigate through 3 different factions and find a way out. The story feels like an afterthought just to connect the maps, and it has pretty stupid characters. Most of their decisions have no rhyme or reason. As for the gameplay, it's okay at best. You count mostly on melee weapons because all range weapons have limited ammo supply. My main issue is that every mechanic has something good and bad about it. The devs didn't have a big budget and maybe experience for what they were trying to accomplish, which led to lack of polish all aspects of the game. One step forward, one step back. This describes the game Best. Would I recommend it? It depends on your expectations. You can find the game on the abandonware sites, so you should check it out. It's free. At worst, you might lose a couple of hours of your life. Neurohotter blew me away in terms of views. I had super low expectations because the game is very obscure. In terms of videos on YouTube, there are few ancient gameplay ones. That's it. In the first 2 days, the video didn't reach 20 views, but on the third, YouTube decided to push it in their recommendations. It currently sits at 431 views, which is mind-blowing to me. My videos usually don't perform that well, but I have a bizarre question. How do those 1.6% of you know about the game to search it here on YouTube? Before releasing Dead Cars video, it was supposed to be an entirely different game called Alien Blitz. I tried to make a video about it a couple of years ago, but didn't find it that interesting. This time I decided to give it a chance. Should have listened my past self. The game is a top-down twin-stick shooter that a lot of people compare to the original Doom. The problem with the game is that it's boring. It has okay gameplay with an extremely repetitive soundtrack. Each track feels like 15-second loop. The game doesn't offer anything new or exciting. I was so bored that halfway through I just gave up and installed Monster Truck Destruction, but that's another can of worms. The next day I returned to the game, determined to finish it, and I didn't. The game is easy. My only death is if I fall into an inescapable pit filled with lava, or the final boss. It's ludicrously tricky. Not the boss itself, but the arena. You are bombarded with projectiles that are extremely difficult to avoid. I tried and tried, but no luck. This is a 3-stage boss. The first was easy, but I couldn't pass the second phase. I can't imagine how insane the third will be. Even if I beat it, it's hard to recommend because it's boring. It's only 99p, but I played more exciting games for that price. Monster Truck and Alien Blitz was supposed to be a double feature, but this game is awful for various reasons. In my first race, the game broke and neither I nor the AI driver could move. I was pressing the whole keyboard and nothing was happening. I restarted the game and this time it was fine. And Monster Truck Destruction is fine if you can get past the bugs. I couldn't do that. From what I've played, you have races and stunts. My problem was with the stunts. You have limited time to drive around the arena and perform stunts that give you points, but there is no tutorial on how to perform any, so I was doing quite poorly at them. Besides being just 2 types of modes, I stopped playing it because of a bug. I was stuck in the quarterfinals. Literally I couldn't progress. I was repeating the same race, winning most of the time and nothing. In addition, the dev tried to sue Nerdcube for criticizing the game. There is no need to say anything more. Hard pass. I probably got it for free at some point, but I still want a refund. And lastly, I played Dead Cars, a vehicular combat and racing game. I played it a lot back in my youth and it's one of my favorite childhood games. The game is fun. Chaos on the track often results in 10, 11 of 20 cars finishing the race. It has permadeath mechanic, which means if you get blown up, you're done with this race and you have to move on to the next, unless you want to use one of your limited restarts or start the championship again. This adds so much tension and I love it. The game requires from the player to be very aggressive on the track, but if the AI pulls ahead, it's almost impossible to catch him. I have 3 main issues with the game. The first is the AI shoots only you, and if they destroy another car, it's by a chance. The second is that it doesn't make mistakes, which has led to many restarts. And the third is the lack of content. You play the same tracks but in a different order each championship. It got boring, to be honest. However, the reason why I can't recommend it has nothing to do with those 2 issues. In my 9 hours of playing the game, it crashed so many times, and after each load I had to start the championship again. It's frustrating to say the least. I also didn't finish it because the last championship required me to play all 12 tracks in one sitting and I'm not willing to waste any more time. A few mistakes and starting over is not my understanding of fun. I had to record additional footage for the video and I played way more than I needed. This speaks volumes about how fun the game can be. 2024 was a weird year for me. As soon as I thought I was moving forward, everything crumbled for reasons beyond my control. But I managed to push through, sometimes on my own, others friends helped me. And honestly, it's been a while since I felt so good. I have decently paid job and the channel is getting some views. I think I ended up 2024 on a high note. I appreciate each of you who watch my videos. The views I'm getting might not be earth-shattering, but it gives me joy that anyone is watching at all and I'm more motivated to continue doing it. What does the future hold? I'm planning a massive team video, but it will take a while. I have 22 games to go through. I wanted to make a similar video a few years ago, but have never committed to the idea until now. In the meantime, I'll probably release shorter videos. I haven't thought through this part. As I mentioned in the Dead Cars video, it will be another racing game, another abandonware title. To finish this video, I want to wish everyone a great 2025. See you in the next video.